Now I do. Hi.
Oh, okay.
How are you?
I don't. You. Oh, it's doing this thing with the Bumblebee speaker. Very annoying. Hold on. That's from my microphone, but how do I make? I understand. It's not letting me pick an audio output. Oh wait, I thought I heard you.
Are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay,
Excellent. Hi, friend.
good. All right, sorry. Yeah, the thing seems to want to default to. I have USB headphones, and it seems to want to default
Uh-huh.
to the 3.5 millimeter jack in the Bumblebee as my audio, which maybe I should use, but I just don't have any fantastic 3.5
Uh-huh.
millimeter um, headphones.
Yeah, I got you.
So
Oh my
anyway,
goodness. So what are we pilch pointing tonight?
uh, well, I don't have a wonderful topic this week. My best, um, well, there's I had got two possibilities for you. One is we could talk about upgrades for going back to school because we've written about that a bunch.
Okay.
Uh, granted, um, granted, I don't know if people are thinking about that, but but
There's
we've done a
definitely
bunch
that,
about
isn't
that because
there?
it's getting into that shopping season. Even if
Yeah.
you're, it, and I would mention ones that you would use if you're not actually going physically to school.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that might be the better one. And then, other than that, I could talk about Intel's terrible week. But I
with
think,
with AMD beating its stock price for the first time since like 2006
yeah, AMD had a big stock price. Intel announced that they're not going to do 7 nanometer
for at
till
least another year.
2023.
Yeah.
They're even behind on 10 nanometer. Yeah, they basically admitted that they're in a bad
That they're
way.
lost.
Um, that they're lost. Um, but I don't know. I feel like the school one is probably more. We could probably say more about that.
Okay.
So why don't we go with the school one?
Sounds
Uh,
good.
but
All right, I'm back.
dun dun dun.
I have no idea what that was all about.
Who knows? I wish I had a really good story to tell about what to do when your internet goes out.
Yeah, you and me both, buddy.
I wish I had. I mean, I mentioned in the intro. I
Yeah.
wish I had a good story about what to do. My problem is, it seems that whatever I could have done was, I don't know. I need satellite, really good satellite internet or something.
Right? I can't wait to see when the studio's in a new location if it works better. Fingers crossed. You were a
Yeah.
little off center tonight.
Oh, okay. Wait. Oh. Uh, how about now?
That's way closer.
What?
That's way closer. You're still a little off to
Do you
your
want it?
right.
Okay, to my right. So this way?
No, you are off to the right, so your camera needs to drift that direction. There you go.
Okay, how about this?
Uh, you're
More?
most yeah. You're. I don't know. I can.
No,
I
this
can.
is
I can change the frame
no,
too.
no, no,
That's
no. I want to get this in a good way because I got other shows that I do with this camera, um, so I want to be
All right,
centered.
you're pretty center now. I must have your framing set differently.
Uh,
So let me do this, and then, oh yeah, that's always a challenge. Trying to get everything to fit within the frame now is because we've got the borders around everything. Let me set my output to graphics 2. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. I actually kind of like. No. Okay. Did you see the other 4?
yes.
Okay. Great. All right. For those of you who are joining us live, we appreciate it. We're starting in just a second. Okay. Then I've got everything. Record here. Record here. Record you. All right, and here we go. Good evening from Plunkett Studios in Largo, Florida. I'm Scott.
I'm Abram.
And we are here with episode 567 of F5 Live, refreshing technology for Sunday, July 26th, 2020. This show is a proud part of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. This week, AT&T is asking for more sales, Xbox is giving more value, and TikTok really wants more trust. Wherever you are and however you're accessing our show, whether it be on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or Snapchat, through a podcatcher like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, or a myriad of other options, our live stream platforms, livestream.com, Twitch, Periscope, YouTube, or Facebook, or on our website, plugitslive.com. Thank you for making us a part of your day. There are 2 ways that you can do that. You can join us live Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern by going to f5live.tv/join us. There you can chat with us during the show, give your feedback on the topics as we talk about them, or you can always subscribe at plugitslive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows, including F5 Live, Pilch Point, Plugits Live Presents, and a whole lot more. And of course, you can find all the ways that you can watch or listen. Abram, how are you doing today?
I had quite a week.
Yes, you
My
did.
internet went out on last Monday, and I couldn't get my provider, Verizon, to come fix it till Thursday, and they told me so after I was on the phone for like 2 hours, trying to prove to them that it was actually broken. Um, and and it's very hard to get a person, I should note. Um, so, like, what was I to do? It turned out that my phone, which is on T-Mobile, was getting the equivalent of, and I know we're going to talk about T-Mobile in a minute, was getting like the equivalent of 1G speeds or
Oh,
maybe 2G. I mean, I was getting like on speed test, I was getting 3 megabits down and 0.5 megabits up. Um, so uh, at best, sometimes under 1 down also. So like obviously not good enough to really do much work.
yeah.
So my family and we went to visit my mom for 2 days. Just I mean, it was nice to visit her, but our motivation was I had to do my work. I had to be there. Um,
Right.
Fortunately, when Verizon came on Thursday, they fixed the problem, which was that the line had literally been like knocked out to my house, had literally been knocked down. Um, But it does make you wonder, like, does make me wonder, like, what if it happens again? Um, what are my backup options like? It seems that uh, the T-Mobile signal in my house is not good enough to be a hotspot. Uh, my wife and I used to have Verizon, and we got almost no signal in this house. So um, I don't know. What I would like to think I could get a hotspot um, to have as a backup, but if I'm getting 2G speeds, uh, what good is that?
Right. Yeah, that's no good. Maybe we should hook you up with the company we interviewed at CES that makes the cellular repeaters. I've got
Yeah, I
I've
mean,
got I've got one in my kitchen that I'm doing a product review on right now, and
I
my
want to know if it
my
works.
sprint
I know.
my sprint signal went up 2 full bars.
See, the funny thing is, I have the bars. I
Mm,
just don't have the speed,
gotcha.
right? Like, it's not that I don't have a connection. Like, I did have that problem with Verizon a couple of years ago. I can make as many phone calls as I want. I can stay online, no problem. It's stable. It's just super duper duper slow.
Gotcha.
And I'm getting like
Interesting.
4 bars. So
Okay.
I don't know. Would having a better signal solve the problem? I don't know.
Perhaps it depends on whether you know what signal you're getting that's strong, because maybe it's not
Yeah.
a T-Mobile signal. You know, just looking at it, there's no direct way anymore most of the time of knowing because of the roaming agreements, and maybe the tower you're on is only offering a very strong edge signal. Who knows?
I mean, it says 4G on my phone, and my
Okay,
wife now has a 5G phone too, and it says 5G, and hers is maybe like 2 megabits faster, but still bad. You know,
that's
it's still
weird.
like 5 megabit. Yeah, so it's kind of disaster. But if anybody in the audience has any ideas, I mean, this is a real serious problem, I think, for people who now in this world where you have more people working from home.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do if your internet goes down, and you could lose productivity for days? Like in the, before time, I would go into my office,
Right,
or maybe I could find some place to hang out, like a coffee shop or something.
right, and
Uh,
and none of that's an option
but
anymore.
Right. So it's kind of disaster. We really need our internet.
Yeah, more now than possibly ever before. And
Definitely more than ever.
we're seeing we're seeing companies respond to it. This won't be part of the topic, but T-Mobile, even on their new, the not even the essentials plan, the new combo plan, Sprint T-Mobile thing. They've even got a
Yeah.
hotspot built into it. But if your connection isn't great, if your speed isn't great, it still doesn't help.
Right.
So
Exactly.
yeah, it's probably time for the internet companies to get together, get their act together. That's what I was
I mean,
trying. Act was the
somebody
word I
said
was looking
somebody.
for. A new different word.
I'll leave it with this. Somebody suggested to me, one of my Facebook colleagues who was on Facebook suggested to me that I should try to get a business internet plan with some kind of SLA, service level agreement, so that
It's an interesting
maybe
comment.
there would be something where I could at least be guaranteed to get a repair person
Mm-hmm.
out here faster, because that was the biggest killer part. Like, yeah, okay, maybe I could live with this for like 12 hours or whatever, but until
Mm-hmm.
the next day. But like, you're telling me you can't even come over here for 3 days.
Right. Which, for our regular listeners and viewers, they know that we had to cancel a show, uh, a month ago, because all of a sudden the internet access here in the studio was no more than a megabit up, and 2 down on a hardwired cable connection where I'm supposed to get 400 down. And we were
Yep.
getting 2 that night. You and I couldn't stay connected even on Skype for more than a minute and a half.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. No.
and it was
No
it was
joke.
what? That went down on Sunday, and I didn't have a technician on site until Thursday. So, yeah. It somebody recommended the same thing, that maybe a business band connection, so at least there's an SLA on it and you can throttle them by the neck if they don't show up on time. So I haven't looked into it yet, but it's definitely on my radar as well, because we can't, all the things that are happening over here can't happen on 2 down, 1 up. Let alone, I mean, just trying to use the internet on 2-1 isn't even an option anymore.
How does that compare to having a dial-up modem?
Well, let's see. 56K versus 1024K, 2048K. So
Okay, so it's still significantly better.
20 times dial up, but still,
Still, okay.
it's still only 20 times dial up. No, because that would be meg. Oh, no, it's 2,000 times. Because that 20 times would be 2. Oh, no. Yeah, 2 meg. Yeah. Yep, 20 times. Whoop, my brain's all over the place tonight. This is going to be a fun show. But, yeah, internet's more important than ever. And I think what we're seeing, this obviously isn't our topic, but I think it's an interesting thing that's happening. What we're seeing is a stress on the infrastructure in a way that they're unprepared for on the consumer side. And so, some of what we experienced was infrastructure stress. Obviously what you experienced was a physical line being missing, but I think a lot of people
the infrastructure is that they couldn't send someone over.
Right, because there's other problems elsewhere, and their internal infrastructure wasn't strong enough to be able to get somebody out there for 3 days. So,
yep.
Maybe looking at more technicians would be a good thing for them. That's just a recommendation, guys. Both Verizon, Bright House, nope. What's it called now? Spectrum. Maybe more techs. With that, let's get down to some news. This week's Nifty Gifties and F5 Live is proudly powered by the Microsoft Store. Whether you're looking for a new laptop, a tablet, an Xbox One, games, and a whole lot more, you can get them at the Microsoft Store, and that includes things that aren't Microsoft, like Samsung phones and VR headsets, and all of those are available. And remember that current students and active military can save up to 10% on almost everything. And you can find out about the current deals and all the products that are available by going to f5live.tv/Microsoft. So, AT&T and T-Mobile. AT&T made news this week, not for a good reason, but because they sent out a bizarre email that said that they were making a network change and that your device wasn't compatible. Now, they didn't give a whole lot more information than that. They didn't give a timeline. They didn't seem to filter the email by those who might be affected. They just sent out an email suggesting that people buy new phones. Now, here's the important stuff that was missing. First, the network change isn't happening until 2022. And most phones that have been sold for a number of years, mid-range and above, are not affected. If you look at the big flagships, the iPhone 6 and newer are all good. So that's 7 generations of iPhone. The Samsung Galaxy S7 and newer, which is 5 generations of Galaxy S. The Note 3 and newer are all good. The HTC phones all the way back to whatever came just after the M8. So we're talking when Windows Phone 8 was still a thing, because the M8 came with Windows Phone 8 on it, not even 8.1 as an option. So we're talking a lot of phones for a long time that are still good. Basically, voice over LTE is what feature the device needs. The ability to call over 4G, not 3G, because 3G is going to go away, which is inevitable. They're putting in 5G across the country, trying to maintain 3 different networks is expensive, so they don't want to. Makes sense. Oh, excuse me. AT&T has apologized for the poor wording. They said that it should have included a timeline in it, and that was a mistake. Although, I don't know, Avram, how many people must an email that goes out to most, if not all, customers be vetted by inside of a company as large as AT&T before it hits? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be accusatory, but it certainly plays to their advantage. I mean, if you get people in a panic about getting a new phone,
Mm-hmm.
then you're going to attract more business.
Sure. At a time when business is a little down, but not really.
I mean,
In the
man,
AT&T mobility business isn't all that down, because people are having business lines and stuff working from home, and I mean DirecTV is down, but
right?
that's not the same thing.
Well, I understand, but I'm just saying for that part of the business,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
They're looking to forget whether it's down or not. It's going to attract business.
Yes, it is.
No company that I've ever heard of is ever happy with the amount of business that they
True.
get, saying, let's not do everything we can to get more business,
True.
to get more people buying stuff. So, so of course they're thinking like, so someone sending that, the more you create a sense of alarm, the better chance of selling more phones, right?
Sense of urgency.
So create a sense of urgency.
Because with no timeline, there's an
buy the phone now.
Yeah, with no timeline, there's an artificial urgency that's added to it. Yes, this is going to happen. We've known that this was going to happen for a while, but without a timeline, there's an artificial sense of urgency that's added to the email, which is very different from the way T-Mobile has been addressing the same thing. T-Mobile's timeline is actually compressed. Their transition actually happens in January of 2021, so just a couple of months from now. And they've been, for those few customers that are affected by it, they've been communicating, they've been giving notifications with a very clear timeline. January 2021, that's a pretty clear timeline. They don't know exactly what date because they're dealing with the FCC and things, but January 2021 is a pretty clear timeline. And they're not activating old devices anymore. So they haven't been selling incompatible devices for a while. And next week, if you try to bring one that you already own, they won't let you activate it. So, I mean, very different approaches to the same thing there. So
yeah, no question. Well, I mean, they eventually have to. I mean, aren't they going to reuse that spectrum?
Right. Yeah, exactly. And so it's got to go away at some point, right? They want to expand the spectrum for 4G and 5G. The only way to do that is either buy new, and Dish Network made it very clear that they were going to win every auction they could get their hands on. So reuse is the only thing left for most of these companies. So,
yep.
So don't be alarmed. The email sounded alarming, but was not. because most people won't even be affected by this unless you have a very low end phone or a very old phone. Because again, the iPhone 5S, 8 generations ago, oh, soon to be 9, probably 10 by the time it actually happens. So, it's a pretty wide array of devices that are still going to be compatible almost a decade old. So it's not that big of a concern, and future communications will be more clear. So uh, keep that in mind, and as it comes closer, we'll try to keep you updated with any changes and clarifications on timelines. This week's Pilch Point with Avram Pilch. Ooh, I don't know what's happening. I'm sorry. Is proudly powered by PureVPN. The best way to protect your privacy online is with PureVPN. You can hide your online activities, say goodbye to regional restrictions, and improve your streaming quality. Plus, it's available for almost all of your devices, and you can get a special price and a 31-day money-back guarantee by going to pilchpoint.live/PureVPN. All right, Avram. Even though the world is in a bit of chaos, it's that time of year, right?
Yes. So obviously, there's a lot of debate going on about whether or not uh, children and even university students should be going physically back to school. Um, I'm not going to spend this time weighing in on it, but we know for a fact that a lot of them will not be going back. A lot of universities, a lot of school districts already have said that they're doing remote learning. Uh, so this is the time of the year where we usually talk about back to school products, but I wanted to talk about products that you could use to enhance your school experience, even if your school experience is happening right at home. um, so I think this actually presents some different needs than you have when you're sure that you're going into a school building. For one, this could be an opportunity for folks who are, say, uh, I even think with younger kids to go for a desktop rather than a laptop. If there's desk space in your house, this might be an opportunity for you to build yourself to upgrade your desktop, or have a really good gaming rig and know that, hey, I don't necessarily need to invest a lot in a laptop right now because I'm not going anywhere, unless, of course, you're going somewhere within your house, like to the couch. Um, but if you are thinking about it, desktop, uh, this would be a good time to look at, um, if you have an existing one, um, spending spending some money to get yourself up to 16 gig or 32 gig of RAM. This would be a good time to look at, if you have even if you have an existing laptop, uh, upgrading yourself to a higher capacity SSD. Uh, you can still get a terabyte for under $150. So plenty of storage space. Um, it's also a great time, a really good time, to be looking for uh, a new monitor, um, or multiple new monitors. Uh, Now, obviously, monitors are something that people have that last a long time. The monitors I'm looking at right now on my desk, I must admit, I think these are older than my son, who's 8. Uh, but you can get some really good good quality monitors, particular that allow you to not only do schoolwork, but also do some gaming. For example, our favorite budget at Tom's Hardware, our favorite budget gaming laptop is the Acer XFA 240, which is a 24-inch, and that's just 199, and that's actually not a spectacular price if you were um, just going for any 24-inch monitor, because you could get those for under 100.
I
But this is 144 hertz.
I have to interrupt. That's for a
Yeah.
monitor, not a laptop.
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify because I think I heard you say laptop. I know that's
Oh, did
where
I?
our,
Okay.
I know that's where our minds are. So I just wanted to clarify. That's for a
Yes.
24
So
inch 144 hertz monitor.
yes. So
Okay.
that's something that you could easily get that would really upgrade your experience. We've got a list on Tom's Hardware of best gaming monitors. Another thing that you really want to look at is um, your webcam, and this is true whether you have a laptop or a desktop, because laptop built-in webcams are usually pretty terrible, even on the best laptops. So there's still a shortage of it's still expensive and difficult to find Logitech, which is the brand Logitech webcams, which is the by far the most popular brand. Uh, but um, you can get uh, you you can definitely get, yeah, it's like impossible to get a Logitech C920, which is the most popular. But what you can get, and we've tested, is a rather not well known brand called Austum, AUSDOM. The Austum AF640 goes for $90, and that is a 1080p camera that is almost as good as a Logitech, and definitely better than anything that was built into a laptop. Um, that is obviously something that you want to look at if you're doing distance learning. You want a good webcam. um, you also might want to consider um, what type of headset you have. um, Look for a good quality USB headset. um, right now I'm wearing the standard Logitech one that is about $30. But obviously, if you want to do gaming also, there's some really great choices out there. I really like the um, I I really like the Patriot uh, Patriot Memories Viper headset. Really good quality, comfortable USB headset, and it has really cool looking RGB. Um, that way, when you're on the conference call with your teacher, you can just turn your head and they can see RGB, and they'll give you a higher grade. I'm sure of it. Um, Finally, to talk about laptops for a second, if you do want to get a laptop, um, the the best the best in terms of just something thin and light for productivity, is to get an Ultrabook, a laptop that's under 3 pounds. We really like and have found a really good prices currently on HP Spectre X360. Um, the Spectre X360, you can get it for some really low prices, uh, really low prices right now. You can get it for as low as 750, the 13-inch model on HP.com. That is with uh, that's with a slightly older processor, so you pay over 1,000 for the 10th gen, I think, processor, but 8th gen processor is very good. The design is great. It comes with a stylus. Um, so lots to think about. We've got a list on Tom's Hardware of back to school, of ways to back to school upgrades, and back to school buying advice for the things that you need. Because even if you're not going anywhere, you're still going back to school.
Right. And with new rules, right? Things are different. And so, the needs may be different this year. So it's even if maybe you're going into your sophomore year of college, maybe your needs are going to be different because school's going to be a little different this year.
Yeah, no question about it. Um, there's going to be a lot of people doing distance learning, and so you need more than ever to make sure that you've got a good setup at home, including good internet. And for that, I have no fantastic advice. Get good internet.
Oh, poor Avram. For for those who may have missed it at the beginning of the show, Avram spent several days without internet due
I
to
mean,
no
look,
fault of his own.
There's real tragedy going on in this world, and being without internet isn't a tragedy, but it is a drain of productive. It is a drain of productivity, and a problem. It struck me a lot that to think like, hey, you're the way that I'm thinking of internet now, and even my wife and kids were thinking of internet now, is the way that we think of a power outage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, which is funny. Like you'd leave your house if you knew your power was going to be out for 3 days, probably. But who would have thought I'm leaving my house because I have no internet for 3 days?
Yeah, because with all of us working remote, it's it's an essential piece. We can't connect to the rest of our colleagues and our tools without it. So, it's an important piece of the puzzle for sure.
Yep.
So, well, Abram, it's always good to get some advice, especially with things being out and some alternatives. You mentioned the C920, and sitting here in the studio while I look at you, I'm looking at one, and so I
They're in
that's
high demand.
I know, and
I have one too. They're in high high demand.
that's how important they are. Is I mean, it's literally our backup camera here in the studio. It's such a good quality that we use it as our backup in the studio. And have for
Yeah.
many years. We had a 910 before that, and we switched to a 920 as the studio backup. So I mean,
Yeah.
they're a great camera,
No
and
joke.
so to have a backup since they're basically inaccessible right now is important. So definitely
Yeah.
definitely appreciate that. And
Yeah.
as
Check
always,
out.
Avery.
We have.
Yep. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say we have a list of the best webcams you can buy right now on Tom's Hardware, um, and of varying prices. But the one that seems to be in a decent price is the Austin, AUSDOM.
Excellent. Well, that's good to know because people have asked me, and I always go searching on Tom's Hardware to get an answer for them. So that's good to have that answer. And as always, Abram, I appreciate your time. I look forward to what we'll talk about next week. This week's Extra Life on F5 Live is proudly powered by Razer. Get all the accessories you need to up your game on your PC, console, or mobile device from Razer. Whether you're looking for a gaming mouse and keyboard like we use here in the studio, a webcam and light for your Twitch stream, although a webcam is, as we just said, in a short supply right now, or an entire gaming setup like the Razer Blade 15. You can find it all at Razer by going to f5live.tv/Razer. It's interesting. Their supply comes and goes on the
Razer Keo,
webcams.
by the way, is one of our top choices. We like it a lot if it's in stock.
Right. Which is always questionable. Although interestingly, uh, we've seen occasionally shipments show up at GameStop, so that's also a place to check. Anyway, this week was a big one for Microsoft and particularly Xbox. We saw quarterly earnings that were impacted so much by Xbox that the division was called out specifically in the earnings report, which is not unusual but not common either, especially in a quarter that we suspected would be dominated by Microsoft Teams and was. Um, a lot of businesses are switching to Teams. A lot of companies are taking the opportunity to do cloud migrations that they've been putting off. Now that they've got a little bit of extra time on their hands, but Xbox made a big enough impact to get called out specifically, mostly because of subscriptions, like the Xbox Game Pass, which we have said several times is possibly the best deal in gaming right now, because the Ultimate for $15 gets you unlimited all the games on console and PC, and soon on your phone, plus Xbox Live Gold. You know, it's a great deal, and people spending more time at home have been looking for kind of expanded gaming options. And if you just do the PC or just do the console for $10, you could play a different game every day, and it would still take you 4 months to play them all. And they get new stuff all the time. So, you know, it's been a really good deal, and people are recognizing that and have been subscribing a lot. Then we also got our game showcase from Xbox, which showcased a lot of new titles that will be coming to the Xbox Series X and Game Pass. Everything they showed off is going to be available through Game Pass, which is a pretty big deal because you've got titles like a new Fable game, you've got Psychonauts 2, you've got Halo, you've got all kinds of things, and everything they showed off will be Game Pass. And a lot of what they showed off will be xCloud, or whatever it's called when it releases. I'm gonna call it Game Pass Mobile. It's several of them will be available there as well, and so they definitely put a big emphasis in the same way that NBC put a big emphasis on Peacock in their upfront presentation, the 30 Rock episode. Microsoft and Xbox have put a lot of emphasis on Game Pass, and that could have something to do with the rumors that Xbox Live Gold is going to become free when the new console comes out, evidenced by the fact that you can't get a 12-month subscription anymore. You can only do 1 and 3, because in less than 12 months, it's suspected that it will become free. So, you know, leading into that Xbox Game Pass thing and the huge collection of games is big for them, and they definitely emphasized it a lot. They put a lot of value on Game Pass. They put a lot of value on the games. Huge range of games. Like I said, everything from Fable to Psychonauts, which is 2 very different gamer types. It was a big presentation, and it looks like Microsoft's putting a lot of emphasis in Xbox in general, and I think that's good for them, especially with this last quarter showing Xbox being important for them.
Yeah, I mean, everybody loves recurring revenue. So if you're going to show, if you're going to try to show investors something, you want to show them that you're selling Game Pass, that you're selling, that you're selling recurring, you have recurring revenue. That means you have good engagement. Now, I do you think there's anything to the rumors that have gone on for a while about Microsoft possibly spinning off Xbox into its own brand?
that was
I
something
mean,
that
I don't know, into its own company, I guess.
it's it's something that's persisted, even though the rumor was based on something that Satya Nadella said before he became CEO. Um,
Yeah.
but the fact that the other big thing he said before taking on the reins of the company, he acted on nearly immediately, which was that it was a massive mistake for the company to have purchased Nokia's devices division, and within
Right.
months, the division was gone. Um, if he was planning on acting on it, he probably would have already. I don't think the company could justify it, especially with the amount of revenue it's making now that they're starting to push more stuff onto Azure to keep costs down. Minecraft has officially moved its servers from AWS to Azure, making making things less expensive for the company. With the revenue being high enough to call it out in the earnings report, I don't think at this point he could do it and keep his job. I think the
I mean,
if he were to even recommend it at this point, I bet the board would question his competence.
yeah, I mean, I don't. I mean, I don't see why they would. I don't see the point of that. If you have a successful division, why you would want
Mm-hmm.
to get rid of it. And certainly, if they're showing it off now, that's probably means that they want to keep it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's interesting to see that under Nadella, Microsoft has become more and more and more a B2B company. I mean, it always did have a strong B2B presence, but it does seem like, okay, they're focusing more and more energy on things like Teams, uh, and so the question is, is that who they really want to be?
I
But
think
Xbox is the opposite of that.
I think both of them actually um, lend credence to the thing that Satya has actually tried to make the company focus on in his cloud. And both something like Teams and Xbox both push revenue to Azure. They both put a big focus on Azure. The Azure game matching service. Xbox Live runs entirely within the Azure realm. There's a lot there's a lot of revenue generated off of Xbox into the Azure division, which is something that the company has put a lot of focus on. Teams also pushes revenue into the Azure division. So I think I think if it's a product that emphasizes and shows off Azure, it's a product or service that Microsoft is interested in exploring. That's what I think right now. And if you listen to their earnings reports, if you listen to even their local evangelists, it's all about the cloud. All about the cloud. So even Windows 10X is all about the cloud. So I think anything that emphasizes that and shows off what Azure can do is something the company's interested in. And if it makes money on its own, like Xbox does, even better. So, yeah, the fact that it's consumer facing when a lot of the other stuff they're doing isn't, I don't think they're all that worried about. Although Teams has a consumer version now, so I don't think they're afraid of consumers anymore. But I think they're approaching it differently than Ballmer did, which is good because Ballmer was way too Microsoft first. The fact that the iPad version of Office was completely ready to go, but he wouldn't release it until a Windows 8 version was ready, is dumb. So
Yep.
I think they're not afraid of consumers, but I think as long as the consumer pushes into the cloud, they're interested in it. It's a little bit more monologue-y than I meant, but so sometimes it happens, I guess. But yeah, I've seen them talk about it way too much to think that their focus is anywhere else. Anyway, big like we said, big things coming to Xbox. and big things happening in Xbox, and consumers seem to be excited about it and buying into it, which is important for longevity, which is, I think, the point that you were making. This week's news from the tubes and F5 Live is proudly powered by RiffTrax. Make fun of movies, or let these guys do it for you. Mike Nelson, Bill Corbett, and Kevin Murphy, the former stars of Mystery Science Theater 3000, are back and doing what they do best. Creating commentaries for Hollywood blockbusters and B-movie oddities. It's like watching a movie with your funniest friends. And to find out about all of the feature films, the short films, and the live events coming up, you can go to f5live.tv/rifftrax with an X. So things are continuing to look weird for Twitter. Obviously, as time progresses, we will learn more about what happened last week with the hack. This week, it was revealed that in addition to the 130 accounts that all posted the scam message, 36 of those accounts also had their direct messages accessed, which was one of the explanations for why Twitter said they shut down most access for the verified users, was to protect the direct messages. And so it seems, while last week they had said that they had not uncovered evidence of DM access, now they have. So it seems like that was a good move, was shutting down access to those accounts. It annoyed the people whose accounts they were, who weren't able to respond to people going, hey, what was that weird thing you posted? But it also protected the 94 other users from having their DMs accessed. But anytime something like this happens, confidence starts to wane. Consumer confidence in the service, and then on a more important level for Twitter, advertiser confidence in the service, which has already been low, because advertisers, for the same reason that Avro and I have talked about, why people were pulling out of YouTube, why people were pulling out of Facebook, was because they didn't want their ads to show up next to content that either they or their customers might find objectionable. And Twitter is nothing if not full of objectionable. So advertisers have been backing off, as they have in general. Economic downturn, they're looking for the best bang for their money. And right now, a lot of companies are thinking Twitter is not it. That's caused revenue problems. And so the company is looking for other revenue sources, and they have gone back to the old classic that they've been talking about since like 2015, and that is a subscription model. Now, most important to note, that does not mean that that Twitter will no longer be free, because it will, because they're fully aware that not enough people would ever pay for Twitter to be able to keep moving. But they are looking for ways of generating that recurring revenue, Avram, that you just mentioned during the Microsoft.
Does this include an edit button?
Right? Wouldn't that be nice? And so they're discussing ways, features, new feature sets, new things. They talked about making, several years ago after they purchased it, they talked about making TweetDeck tiered, and it looks like they're talking about making Twitter tiered as well. And so I was going to ask, are there any features you can think of that you'd be willing to pay for? I can't. To be perfectly honest up front, I can't.
I feel like, for me also, I mean, we actually do at work use social media for valid things like promoting our content. So I won't say it's all a waste, but I have to admit, I'm not gonna lie, I spend a fair amount of time reading Twitter. but it seems like a guilty pleasure. Like I wouldn't want to actually invest money in it,
Uh-huh.
my own money in it, to have a slightly better experience.
It's like
It's
it's like
like
it's like Farmville. Guilty pleasure, but you're not willing to buy animals. I got you. And I
yes,
know that's an
exactly.
old
There's
reference.
no, it's like a lot of mobile games,
Yeah.
right? I mean, how many times have you played a free to play mobile game, and you're like, well, I'll give this my time, but if I actually give it my money, then that's a bridge too far.
Yeah.
Now, there's some people who really like Twitter.
Hmm.
They want uh, they want some added features. I do think
They generate revenue
editing
off of
is
it. There are
something that,
people. There are people who are able to generate revenue off of social media. Those people might have some features that they'd be willing to pay for.
so you're talking about influencers.
Maybe brands. Maybe they'd charge for API access or something like that.
Oh yeah, yeah, like
Yeah,
that
I
I could
think.
see. I could see API access being something. Obviously, right now, people I think can pay for promote to have your tweet
Hmm.
promoted, so that's already a revenue stream, right?
You
But
can
I
also pay.
guess
One of the things that they added that I thought was a really clever idea was being able to officially purchase a hashtag, um, getting a little icon next to it, like Apple does with WWDC every year. When you tweet with hashtag WWDC, you get a little Apple icon next to it. That was a pretty clever way of generating some revenue too.
yeah, I mean maybe ability to change the formatting a little bit in ways that you can't now to stand out.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Longer
Could you get
posts,
a different
maybe.
font, longer post, different font?
Oh, so
Um,
you're pitching MySpace.
yeah, yeah, right. At a certain point, it stops being Twitter, right?
Right.
Because this is why I've never really been that impressed with Twitter. But I guess like every other social network, it's not really about the technology; it's about who's using it and how.
Hmm.
Because all it is, all it is a set of block is like a giant block RSS feed with character count limits.
Uh-huh.
Um, that's what it
A-
is, and
SMS based character count limits.
right. I mean, I guess the character count limit is the message, right? Like
Hmm.
that's if you had unlimited characters, it would no longer be Twitter.
Right.
Um, so and now that they've taken it up to like 280,
Hmm.
um, it's like it's definitely much more usable at at 280 than it was at 140.
Hmm.
You still see though all these, and maybe it's a part of the charm. If there's charm in Twitter, all these people who are doing these, you know, threads where you've got like, oh look, here's a thread with like 25 posts in it,
Yeah.
telling you this important piece of information. Um, you know, just today, a former colleague of mine from back in the day now writes for the New York Times, and she put up a thread. She's a medical reporter, and she put up this really useful thread about antibodies
Hmm.
and what the antibody testing means and things like that. And I forget how many posts it ended up being. Was it like 7 or 8 posts, which is nowhere near the longest ones that I've seen.
Oh God, no.
Uh, I don't know. Does it do anybody a service to have it be eight posts, or could they do give you something where it was more like Facebook and they just showed you the first 2 paragraphs, and then you could just hit a button to see the rest? I don't know.
So so SMS stitching, since Twitter
Yeah,
is all based on uh text message limits, which is literally why the character count was what it was. Um,
yeah,
we saw phones start doing text message stitching. The WebOS had that capability if it was 3 text messages, it would post it as a single message. So
Yeah.
you could stitch those threads together just like just like SMS did.
Yep.
That's pretty funny, actually. That it's one of the things that in software we always say is that all applications evolve eventually to the point where they send email, and it seems like and it seems like anything that's based on SMS at some point starts to stitch. And here we
Yep.
go.
There you go.
That's pretty funny. But there have been services that have kind of popped up around Twitter that take advantage of that limitation. There's what is it, Twit Longer or something like that, which honest to God sounds like something out of Futurama. But
Yeah.
that allows you to post a whole big long thing from Twitter, which is an interesting concept because it, again, isn't that the opposite of Twitter? But whatever. Couldn't you just link to a Facebook post or whatever? Anyway, but yeah, I don't know. I
Does
don't
Twitter
know.
have a for business thing?
Depends on what you're asking, because the answer to the question might be TweetDeck.
Well, I mean, something where you could use, I don't know exactly how you'd use it, but I have some thoughts where you'd have sort of a private Twitter for your enterprise.
Like Facebook Workplace, but on Twitter.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
I don't believe so.
I mean, I don't know how successful Facebook Workplace is, but
I don't see ads for it anymore.
yeah. But I mean, it just seems to me when I'm looking at Twitter and I'm looking at Slack, there's something not too dissimilar in the experience that it makes me wonder whether somebody could combine the two. I don't know.
Yeah. Perhaps. And both of them have APIs, but that would still make it public. Yeah. It's interesting. I would imagine that it would be pretty easy to create a multi-tenant system like that. Spin up different servers.
I don't know.
Anyway. Yeah, the question is, would people want it?
Yeah.
One of the things that makes Twitter interesting from a development standpoint is the fact that it's basically a messaging queue. And so from a development standpoint, you could actually use a private Twitter as an interesting messaging queue, or even a public but not Twitter, right? As a messaging queue. We had an employee a number of years ago who built a jukebox app that you could tweet at, and you'd just include a hashtag with an ID, and the app would pick it up and it would add your song to the jukebox queue, because it's really just a messaging queue. And so there's some things that they could use the technology and sell the technology a little differently, or license the technology a little differently, instead of thinking of themselves as a social media company. If they thought of themselves as a technology company and started to license the technology differently, there might be some revenue there. But from a social media standpoint, I cannot imagine a feature that I would be willing to pay for as a person or as a business.
No,
I just
not really.
I can't.
I mean, as a business, I could see promotional things, but that's what they're doing now. So
Right. Yeah. Nothing. I can't think of anything new that's outside of their realm. So it'll be interesting to see what they attempt here, if they attempt it at all, because this has been in discussion since 2015 when Workplace launched. Both big things happened about the same time. So Will anything happen? I don't know. They might try to woo back advertisers. It might be easier. This week's DRM not included on F5 Live is probably powered by Amazon Prime. We all know that Prime offers free shipping on millions of products, but that isn't all you get. In fact, for your subscription, you get free shipping might not be your favorite feature. You get free music with Amazon Prime Music. You get free TV, movies, and documentaries with Amazon Prime Video. You get free games and a free subscription with Twitch Prime, which you could use to subscribe to us or any other content creator to help support them, and a whole lot more. You can learn more about some of our favorite benefits, and if you're not already a subscriber, you can get a 30-day free trial, or even give it as a gift to a family or friend, all by going to f5live.tv/prime. So, speaking of brands that are having some trust issues, TikTok. Although TikTok's trust issues are very different from Twitter's. While Twitter's tends to come from just bizarre business decisions or a hack that may or may not have been within their control, TikTok's comes from their ownership structure for the most part, and the things that come out of that. The company is multi-tiered. At the very top is a Chinese brand with very strong ties to the Chinese government, which makes Western countries very uncomfortable. And when things like child privacy come into it, which we talked about a year ago, I think, about the FTC fining the company for child protection violations, that adds to that mistrust. And then a couple of weeks ago, finding out that TikTok is constantly snooping on your keyboard on iOS and possibly Android, since we don't get notifications over there. That starts to add into the theories that maybe the app is, watching your behavior in ways that it's not supposed to, because that's a way it's not supposed to. So we've seen some companies ban it on company phones here in the U.S. and abroad. We've seen almost all government agencies in the U.S. and Europe ban it on government devices. Obviously, it's not available on secure devices at all. Those are very different. Yeah. And then we've seen India ban it entirely. The entire country has banned it. There was a workaround where you could use a VPN and report that you were here, and it would work. And even that doesn't work anymore because the government of India is very firm on not wanting the platform in their country. And Western countries have been looking at similar situations. So, of course, TikTok needs to deal with that. Their public perception is dropping. Their governmental perception is near the floor. So what do? One of the things they've been looking at is changing their ownership structure and selling a majority stake to a U.S. company, which we know that a majority stake in a U.S. company and a minority stake in from a Chinese company with government ties tends to work out well. Tencent owns a minority stake in Epic Games, Activision, and a whole lot more. And nobody's looking into that. I mean, gamers are, but the government's not looking into it. The new anti-cheat system certainly raised some eyebrows, sending a lot of data to China. But, if they were to change their ownership structure, that would put oversight in the U.S. and from a corporate structure. Oversight would be from the U.S. and not China, which could make regulators a little more at ease because they could keep track of what's going on a little better. They've also gone for a bit of a guerrilla attempt, which is interesting. They've put aside $200 million to try and attract U.S. content creators onto the platform, possibly in an attempt to build enough content creator loyalty within the community so that if a ban were pitched, that there would be enough noise about it. Which I mean, it's diabolical, but it's clever.
Without TikTok, where will the next Little Nas X come from?
Fascinating. I don't even know what that question means. And that makes me happy, I think.
Well, I learned about, to show you how out of pop culture I am, I learned about this like last year, and I was like, oh, I learned. So, are you familiar with that song "Old Town Road" that was everywhere for like in 2019?
It's
There
probably
was a
not
song.
likely.
You're not missing anything. But there's a guy, Little Nas X,
I am on his Instagram right now.
who I believe the whole thing came from TikTok. That like TikTok was where he was, how he became famous with his song, which then got remade with Billy Ray Cyrus and was the song of the year or whatever. I believe that all happened through TikTok. So I know TikTok has created some stars. So, but does that mean that those folks wouldn't have somewhere else to go, or people who wanted to consume
Right.
that wouldn't have somewhere else to go? I mean, couldn't they go to YouTube? I mean, maybe they'll go to
But
Quibi.
oh, thank you. That was good. Somebody has to, because subscribers
Quibi,
sure aren't.
Quibi's coming out with a. Isn't Quibi coming out with a new Fugitive show? I don't understand this, but they're coming out with their own version of the Fugitive.
I don't
saw
know.
something about that recently.
They've got a series about a guy being offered $1 million an hour to be hunted. They're taking some wide swings, my friend.
Yes, very, very true, very true.
But they've still got Reno 911,
yeah.
so.
But to your point, I don't think that people are going to, rise up and demand that the government allow TikTok.
See, I agree.
I
I
mean,
think it's an interesting idea that that in the midst of all this weirdness around the brand, that they're trying to pay content creators onto the platform. But if this is their goal to create some community uprising, if the U.S. tries to ban it, I don't think it's going to work. I don't know if that's their plan, but the timing is suspicious.
Ninja's free, right?
Indeed, he is.
So,
oh, you're on
maybe
fire
he
on
can,
this topic.
maybe he can go somewhere. But yeah, it seems like unlike Lil Nas X, the viewers of TikTok are not going to ride this old town social network till they can't ride no more. So maybe trying to change the ownership. On the other hand, will that make? I mean, putting ownership in the U.S. will definitely take U.S. regulatory pressure off. But what about the EU?
Mm-hmm.
You think that's going to make the EU happier?
I mean,
Maybe.
happier? Yes. Happy? No. they might extend their investigation period more, but it certainly wouldn't stop it, because the EU doesn't seem to like U.S. companies much more than they like Chinese companies. Just ask Google.
Right.
So yeah, that's an interesting that's an interesting point, that it wouldn't stop what would be going on in the EU, but it might slow it down. My guess is that this is something that's gonna ride around for a little while. We're gonna see some moves happen here, some investigation happen here, but it sounds like they're prepared in the event something goes wrong quickly. That's my guess. Well, that is our show. Thank you to those of you who joined us live. We always appreciate it. If you didn't join us live and would like to in the future, Sunday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, f5live.tv/join us. You can chat with us during the show and give us your input on the topics as we talk about them. We always like to hear from you during the show. If you're not able to join us live, that's okay. plughitslive.com/subscribe. You'll see all of our shows, F5 Live, Pilch Point, Plug Hits Live Presents, and a whole lot more, all in one place, and all the different ways that you can watch or listen. And with that, on behalf of the staff that's not here, I'm Scott.
I'm Abram.
And we will see you guys back next time. Ciao.
Hmm.